Morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Max Tan. I spent about a decade in the investment world, so I may know some of you through my past life. Regardless whether we met or not, I will be a resource if you have any questions on the graph. In this session, we will cover major developments throughout the core dev ecosystem this quarter. And as usual, we will share our highest priorities and goals for the upcoming quarter. In this section, I will walk you through several major milestones we achieved through this quarter. This quarter, we surpassed 3 million GRT in lifetime query fees on the Graph network. This is a major milestone. That said, the protocol is in early stages, and we are more focused on delivering lifetime value to our customers than singularly focusing on quarter-over-quarter growth. Nonetheless, we are very excited about surpassing 3 million queries. As promised, this quarter, we finally launched L2 transfer tools. These tools enable most network participants to move to L2 in a very user-friendly way. Some of you may have used it already. In general, the feedback we got is very positive. These tools substantially accelerated the protocol's transition to L2. Now, over 30% of all indexer stake is on L2, along with over 50% of all indexing rewards. We have more than 75 indexers on L2 and 150 on L1. More than 1,300 delegators have already migrated their stake. This quarter, we achieved a milestone of over 50,000 lifetime developers on the Studio. As you may know, Studio is a sandbox environment for the network. Typically, developers deploy their subgraphs in this environment, test them out before they deploy them on the network. The Studio is an important funnel for the network. We are proud of our developer community, and we will continue to focus on delivering the best developer experience. In the next section, I will walk you through some key numbers relevant to the network. This quarter, the number of delegators more than doubled, mainly driven by a successfully executed Learn and Earn campaign on Coinbase that brought in over 30,000 net new delegators. The number of subgraphs on the network increased by 26%. Query volume increased by 38%, driven by both the number of subgraphs on the network and increased consumption by certain customers. Despite the growth in query volume, query fees decreased by 41%. This is due to network configuration changes happened towards the end of Q2. I will not go through the technical details here, but this configuration change lowered the price per served query by well over 50%. And this pricing scheme significantly strengthens the network's value proposition against its existing and potential competitors. As a reminder, we will continue to experiment and optimize query pricing on the network, and you will see changes in the fourth quarter and upcoming quarters as well. There could be some volatility in this metric in both directions, so I'd focus more on other leading metrics at this stage of the protocol. And lastly, the number of indexers went down again this quarter. This is mostly as expected, as many participants in the MIPS program withdrew their stake following the expiration of the program. That being said, we have close to 200 indexers on the network, and this number is well above what is needed to achieve a good quality of service today. Importantly, our indexer network can both scale horizontally and vertically, and many experienced indexers have done both. Now we have over 300 unique data consumers and 310 subgraphs with more than 1,000 monthly queries. We're starting to see third-party queries such as Web3 data aggregators and data analytics companies. This is an early demonstration of the marketplace effect for subgraphs. This can only seamlessly happen in a permissionless protocol. We now have over 8 million daily query volumes and over 1,350 subgraphs published to the network. 7 chains are active on the network today, and we will continue to add more chains. Later in this call, Tegan will walk you through a game-changing initiative that potentially unblocks both chain addition and network adoption. In the next section, let's talk about several important initiatives in this quarter that helps unblock the graph ecosystem. The first is Arweave file data source. As you may recall, we enabled file data source on IPFS earlier this year. This quarter, with the release of a new version of GraphNode, we enabled Arweave file data source as well. In general, file data source is an important feature development that unblocks the graph for many important use cases, such as NFT and social. File data source changes the way NFT metadata is queried, allowing for the retrieval of multiple data sources simultaneously. This feature is a significant step forward in the development of NFT technology, and its implementation can bring many benefits to NFT dApps. As the tokenization of real-world assets gains traction, we look forward to helping developers bring their applications to new markets. Substreams on Arbitrum were also unblocked by the Streaming Fast team this quarter. This is highly anticipated feature development requested by some large volume dApps on Arbitrum. Although the feature is still in beta, we are already discussing with multiple projects on potential adoption. As you may have seen already, another exciting development this quarter is that Deutsche Telekom, a European subsidiary of T-Mobile, is now an indexer on the Graph network. This is a significant validation of our technology and the game-changing potentials it can bring to mass markets. As the protocol evolves into the next stage of mass adoption, we look forward to solidifying similar institutional relationships in key markets. If you have any ideas or leads, please let us know. In the next section, we will showcase a business built on top of the Graph network. Our thesis has always been that by enabling data, we will enable creative businesses built with that data, which in turn drives network adoption. Playground Analytics is a demonstration of the thesis. Playground is a data analytics platform catering to people who want data on the network, but don't want to interact with the complexities of the protocol. They enable Python downloads for network subgraph data. So think of a Dune analytics, but fully powered by the graph. They also recently unlocked LLMs to leverage network data, significantly facilitating how users interact with the data. The founder, Tashi, is a fantastic individual, and I hope you will have time to meet him at some point. In this section, let me walk you through our new chain integration process on the network that will unblock new chains going live on the network. This is important because we're now seeing more app chains, and we want to make sure developers can continue to use their favorite indexing stack. In the past, new chain integration has been limited by core developer capacity constraints, as well as the criteria of allocating indexing rewards to these new chains. After much deliberation and discussions with the community, we released a three-step community-driven chain integration process to facilitate chain additions and rewards allocation on the network. We expect this new process to significantly accelerate how the graph works with newer chains, especially app chains. Many chains have already started the process, and multiple chains are working on integration. This quarter, we have 4 graph improvement proposals that are in process of getting feedback from the community. GIP 58 is to replace bunding curves with indexing fees. This is to address indexer and data consumer coordination problem in the decentralized ecosystem. As you know, we've been using a mechanism called curation with an embedded bunding curve to achieve this coordination. This mechanism, unfortunately, has many observed inefficiencies, such as cognitive overload. This GIP aims to overhaul the current mechanism. With indexing fees, indexers publicly post their price per unit of subgraph gas, and consumers or somebody acting on behalf of the consumer choose indexers to perform indexing at the posted price. The proposal is in early stages of gathering feedback from the community. You're welcome to go to the forum to participate in discussion as well. Then GIP 59 disables the tax when publishing a new subgraph version. Originally, the tax was meant to prevent certain attacks on curation, but the drawback in developer experience significantly outweighs the benefits. We want to give subgraph developers the best experience on the network, so this proposal aims to remove that tax. Then the next GIP is GIP 60. It enables early allocation closure without having to wait for the following epoch, while GIP 59 aimed to improve subgraph developer experience. GIP 60 aims to improve indexer experience. The last one is GIP 62. It removes the cooldown for delegation parameters. This will speed up how quickly indexers choose their delegator parameters to remain competitive, and making indexers more agile in a competitive delegation market. With that, let me pass it on to Tegan.
Thank you, Max. Appreciate it. Okay, so it's been what, a 2-year bear market. I want to just take a moment to kind of zoom out and ask, why are we doing this? What are we all still here for? I see so many OGs on the call. It's great to see you all. So I want to remind everyone why. So we're on this mission to make the graph the internet's unbreakable foundation of open data for decades to come. So what does that mean? That means data that's not owned and controlled by any one company in this decentralized ecosystem in the GRT economy. And with that, the vision here is really to create a world that's powered by individual autonomy, shared self-sovereignty, and limitless collaboration. That's what we're all striving to do. And so with that, we keep this mission in mind around everything that we're working on and executing on inside the graph ecosystem. So in Q3, so much was accomplished, but I put the highlights here. So as Max mentioned, we launched the layer 2 transfer tools. This was a huge lift from the team. We wanted to make it as seamless and easy as possible to transition from the Ethereum as a settlement layer to Arbitrum. So that is fully live. And what that unblocked, as Max mentioned, is because the gas fees are now a lot lower, the barrier to entry to participate in the graph network is a lot lower. And so with that, we were able to launch the Earn campaign, Wallet Quest. And with that, we welcomed 30,000 new delegators to the graph network, delegating to indexers in the ecosystem. We also found solutions for the top 4 of the network blockers, 2 of which are fully solved. The other 2 have solutions in place, and we're working on evangelizing those solutions. With that, query volumes are also up. And we worked on a plan in place for Sunrise so that we can upgrade all of the query traffic to the network. The query volumes aren't rising at the rate at which we would like to see, and that's why Sunrise will be so crucial. So we go from, over 1% to all of the queries on the network, and I'll get into that a little bit more later. And we scoped and locked in that roadmap for Sunrise, and we did share that plan to the community and ecosystem. So with that, these are the 3 exciting moments on the roadmap coming up. So we have the Sunrise to get the hosted service traffic over to the decentralized network. We are launching all data services, so going after all data needs within the ecosystem, expanding beyond just subgraphs. And then we're working on a V2 of the protocol that we're calling Horizon. So before I get into those 3 pieces, I just want to share the North Star. So from last quarter, you probably remember that this used to be upgrading 80% of the traffic to the decentralized network. Well, we believe in greatness or nothing. We're all or nothing over here. So we're going after all traffic. And the Sunrise plan will really be what unlocks this. So with the Sunrise plan, the hosted service has seen over 1 trillion queries in its lifetime. And the decentralized network, as Max mentioned, has seen 3 million queries, which is great. But we need to get all of those queries onto the decentralized network, into the GRT economy, increase usage on the network and query fees. So with that, this plan has 3 phases. The first phase is the sunray, the second phase is the sunbeam, and the third is the sunrise. And at the point of the sunrise, that's when all of the traffic will be over to the network. Thank you, John Choi, who's on the call today, for your feedback around the sunrise, as well as everyone else that provided feedback. We took John's advice and we trickled out the comms, so it wasn't so much data at once, starting with my tweet here on the left, and then from there the graph ecosystem announced the full plan. So thank you for that. So with that, this will unblock thousands of subgraphs to upgrade to the decentralized network. We will be giving that 60-day upgrade window. And with this, GRT query fees will flow on the network. And the other exciting piece about this is that everything will be fully transparent. So we're upgrading all of the chains from the hosted service. There's 40 today. We'll be getting those onto the decentralized network. You'll be able to see the usage of all of those chains, all of the subgraphs, which subgraphs have the highest queries. So we're super excited. And we're going to make this as seamless and smooth as possible so that it's 1 click to migrate or upgrade to the network. And with that, we're also working across the core devs on all data services. So subgraphs have become an industry standard today. There are many businesses built around subgraphs and on subgraphs, and we're expanding beyond that. We're adding substreams to the network. We're going towards SQL. We want the graph network to be the one-stop shop for every data need. And as Web3 has gained adoption and traction, and we've seen so many new use cases, there are additional data needs that we will be serving. So more on this coming soon. And another piece is LLMs, so feeding LLMs and AI with subgraphs, verifiable blockchain data to kind of lower the barrier to entry of who can use the graph. And Horizon, so we're working on this in parallel. This is more of a midterm goal. So Horizon is V2 of the protocol, and I wanted to highlight 3 of the pieces around Horizon that I'm most excited about. So permissionlessness, so increasing the permissionless nature of the decentralized network so that no one has to ask for permission to add a chain, to add a new data service, really unblocking that for anyone to participate in the network. That's one of our core principles. And that also increases censorship resistance as well, which is crucial for what we're building in this industry. The second piece is cost effectiveness. So you want to make sure that you're minimizing waste and that people are being compensated commensurate to the value that they're adding. So increasing this in the network for users and also participants. And then also simplicity. So making it easier to understand. I know the graph network, the token economics can be quite complex. So with Horizon, we're aiming to simplify these areas on the network, and then of course improving token economics. Now Horizon, though we're working on it, it is not 100% baked, and we really want to hear from you and the community. So you can reach out if you have any feedback or thoughts on Horizon or the token economics, what you would want to see, and you're also welcome to post in the forum publicly if you're comfortable doing so. And with that, I wanted to just share our top priorities for Q4. So we will be kicking off the Sunray phase of Sunrise this quarter, and we will be aiming to complete that as soon as possible in the early half of next year. This really is one of our #1 priorities. And then we're improving billing. So we wanted to be able to provide users an option or customers an option to pay for USDC as opposed to just GRT. We have banks on the network, so you can pay in credit card, but we want to give a USDC option as well. And one thing that's important to note here is that though you can pay in USDC, it all translates to GRT in the background. We just want to reduce any friction point for users. We're also sharing the roadmap publicly, so stay tuned for that coming very soon. I know decentralization takes time, but given we have so many core developers in the graph ecosystem, they're working on so many different things, so we're excited to share more on that soon. And then, of course, continuing to add chains to the decentralized network. I believe there's 7 today, and we want to increase that, ramp that up. And of course, with Sunrise, we'll be adding the hosted service chains to the network. And then, of course, increasing GRT query fees on the network remains a top priority.
Thank you, Tegan. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you to Michael and Craig from Reciprocal Ventures for all the support on tokenomics improvements and the Sunrise plan. Thank you to John Choi again for all your help on the Sunrise plan communications. Thank you to the Graph Guardians for all you do educating on the Graph network. Thank you, Yuki from Fembushi, for your help on the Sunrise plan. Thank you, William Starr of FinTech Collective, for your help on the Sunrise plan. Thank you, Jake from L1, for your feedback on tokenomics. And just to close this out before taking questions that are flowing in, we want to make sure everyone knows how they can help. First and foremost, please move your delegation to L2. Indexing rewards there are going to increase from 50% to 95% by the end of November, and you will benefit from this move. Then, as always, please delegate to help secure the network. In terms of hiring, we are looking for business development professionals, research and engineering manager, as well as full stack developers. Please let us know if you know people who are interested. Last but not least, we welcome feedback on tokenomics as we continue to improve how value is delivered to participants on the network. With that, let's open it up for Q&A.
Okay, thanks everyone. A couple questions that came through. So the first one is, why did indexers decrease 40 and what does this mean?
Yeah, I can address this. So we had a migration infrastructure provider program, which is basically like an incentivized testnet for getting indexers ready to serve new chains. And you know, in the industry in Web3, it's pretty standard that there's a certain drop off of indexers after the incentivized testnet is over. There are always node operators that are just there simply to extract value, not to add value. And so, we've seen that occur in our space as we've seen in other protocols. But to Max's point, we've got over 200 indexers that are live. This is well above the need for decentralization and high QoS. And what we're really focused on right now is not the aggregate number of indexers, but how many are properly serving each chain. Again, like the absolute number matters much less than is the QoS being served and how many indexers are able to do that per chain.
Thank you, Eva. Second question, what kinds of dApps are using the network right now? Is it just DeFi or are there other types of companies as well?
Yeah, sure, I could take that one. Naturally, there's a lot more active DeFi projects in the space overall, but we do want to see variance across the types of verticals. And we do see that on the hosted service. And what's great with the few hundred using this in prod right now, there are a lot of DeFi, but there are also governance folks like Snapshot. There are multiple gaming dApps that are using it. There are NFT protocols like Super Rare and Rarible that are now using that. So I'd say it runs the gamut, as well as social has started in some cases. And there are some use cases we're building up for that. So we're really seeing multiple verticals all across, even at this early stage of adoption. And we're in talks with many hundreds more of dApps across the ecosystem, as well as many other verticals. So I think this is just the beginning, and it's going to be really fun to see all the different use cases, as well as this new market turn up, what kind of new use cases come out, and making sure they're using the graph network. So it is pretty varied across the board.
Thanks, Kyle. Next question. Is there a limit to how many chains can integrate with the network through the new chain integration process?
Yeah, great question. There is no limit. The limit is simply if there's no more chains that exist. But the chain integration process is basically a permissionless process that any developer in any ecosystem can actually follow the work that's needed. So there's a few PRs to submit to integrate with GraphNode. There's some testing to do, but we've seen developers of all sorts actually take this up. So whether you actually work with the chain community or if you're just a community developer, we've seen that happen. For example, with Starknet, where it was just a community developer that really needed this, and so they built out the integration. And so there is no limit, except that you want to have indexers that can support your chain. So one of the things that we're starting to think about is those chains that maybe not are as popular or maybe don't have as much volume. What's the right plan for engaging indexers to actually run those nodes? So it's a lot more based on whether there's an ecosystem around that chain and node that's ready to support it. And if it's not, that makes it harder for the graph as well. But we're ready to support every chain.
Thank you, Eva. Are there any other questions that anyone has now? Those are all the ones that came in. Anyone else have a question they'd like to throw out? You could still enter through the link as well. So it looks like that's all the questions for now. So thank you so much to everyone for joining, and we'll be sending out a recap of the call today in case anyone on your teams missed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.